Okay, let's start with this new chapter 12, where we are going to cover the nervous tissue. Okay, right here we have the first part, which is overview of the nervous system, and we are going to see right here that we have a body. So the main job of the nervous system is to be able to control everything that's going on with our body. For that reason, let's use an example. You get bitten by a mosquito, so then how your brain knows that you were bitten by a mosquito, because you have in your skin receptors. Now, how these receptors send information up to your brain? Because it uses these brown nerves right here. They go into your spinal cord, and from the spinal cord, they go up into your brain. Now your brain knows that you were bitten by a mosquito. So then, what do you do now? You scratch it, okay? So then the brain now sends information down, and you see these nerves in brown again. I'm gonna go down here into your hands, and you scratch your hands. I mean your arm or whatever it is that you were beating. So we have basically 5 pieces then. You have a receptor, that's number 1. You have nerves, that's number 2. Brain is number 3. Another nerve is number 4. And the receptor is number 5. Let's do that again. How do you know that you were bitten by a mosquito? Because you have a receptor in your skin. Now, how the receptor sends the information to the brain? Because it uses this brown nerve. Since this brown nerve sends the information about something that you feel, then this is going to be called a sensory nerve. Sends the information up to your brain processes the information. What your brain is going to say, oh, I got bitten by a mosquito, therefore I need to scratch it. So then how your brain sends the information down to your muscles so you can scratch, is just going to use another nerve. So it sends the information from the brain down using the spinal cord. Now it uses this nerve so you can move your muscle. But since this nerve is going to make you move something, then this is going to be called a motor nerve. Okay? So then you have 5 pieces: receptor, sensory nerve, brain, motor nerve, and effector. Effector are all the muscles in your body. After all, you're going to be moving them. Okay? Now, as you can see here, there are 5 pieces, but these 5 pieces can be divided in different groups. In this case, the nerves are going to give you the peripheral nervous system. And the parts in blue, the brain and spinal cord, right here, brain, and this is going to be spinal cord. That's going to be the central nervous system. So let's take a look at that. If we scroll down, right here, you have this division in boxes. You can see here again, central nervous system, brain and spinal cord, peripheral nervous system, nerves. But we said we have 2 types of nerves. The ones that are going to make you feel, right? The ones that are going to tell you that you were bitten by a mosquito, and the one that is going to tell you that you need to move in order to scratch it. The ones that you, nerves that are going to make you feel, they're going to be sensory, division of nerves. And all those nerves that are going to make you move something, in this case, all the effectors, we said the effectors are going to be the muscles. Instead of calling them muscles in your hands, muscles in your eyes, muscles in your legs, we're just going to call them effectors. So since they are going to move, they're going to be called the motor division. So what is this? Let's do it again. Central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system is your brain and your spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system is all your nerves. How many divisions you have of nerves? 2. The ones that make you feel something, sensory division. The ones that make you move something, motor division. Now, there are parts of your body, such as your muscles, for example, that you can control, right? You control your muscles attached to your bones. But do you control the muscle in your heart? No. So therefore, even though you are able to move your heart and you're able to move your muscles in your arms, this is not the same control. The nerves that help you move the muscles that are attached to your skeleton, that's going to be called somatic motor. The ones that make you move your heart, visceral motor, because they're inside of you. Same thing. Sensory, they're going to make you feel. So if you got bitten by a mosquito, then you know that's in your skin. But do you feel pain in your intestines when you have diarrhea, for example? Of course. So then how do you know that you have pain? Because you have receptors for pain in your intestines, and that's why you know that you have diarrhea. So then sensory, it can also be somatic, right here, or visceral. Visceral is inside of you, sensory. Somatic is outside of you, like for example in your skin. sensory. So how many sensory you have? You have sensory somatic and sensory visceral. How many motor you have? Motor visceral and motor somatic. Later on, you're going to see the motor visceral. It has two additional divisions, which are going to be the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. We're going to see that in a little bit. Okay? So let's keep going. In there you have the information that we just mentioned. Central nervous system, we said brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system, we said those are going to be the brain, the nerves. And the nerves are going to be divided into main groups. We said they are going to be sensory, if they're going to help you feel, or this other one right here, motor, if they're going to help you move. If they are sensory, they can be somatic and visceral. Or if they are motor, they can also be somatic and visceral. But remember, we said that if they are going to be visceral, we have to remember that they are going to have two additional divisions, and we're going to see that later on. Those are going to be the sympathetic and parasympathetic. Okay, and that's it for this chapter. Okay, let's keep going. The next topic is going to be properties of neurons. The neurons are the cells that you find in your nervous system. So, for example, if the question in the exam is name one cell that you find in your brain, you have to say that neuron. So what's the characteristic that a neuron has? As you can see right there, you have three main important properties: excitability, conductivity, and secretion. Okay. So then we said we have peripheral nervous system and central nervous system. We already talked about that. So let's take a look at the neuron. Right here. That's a neuron. Okay, the neuron has the body, all this part right here. And it has extensions. This is extensions that are smaller dendrites. This long extension is going to be called axon. Okay? The very end, I should have said the very beginning of it, is going to be the axon hillock. So what is this then? Again, this is a cell. What cell? The cell that you find in your brain. What happens with this cell? Nothing in particular. It has a nucleus, and inside here, all these little things that you see here, those are mitochondria, ribosomes, etc., etc. But it has the characteristic that it has extensions. These extensions are going to be dendrites. These ones right here, they are smaller, or this very long that is going to be the axon. This axon is covered by this balloon type of structure right here. These ones, you can kind of like blue right here. These are cells, and these cells, smaller cells, they are going to be called the Schwann cells. The job of the Schwann cell is to produce the myelin sheath, as you can see here. Okay, so what's the name of this cell? Schwann cell. What's the job of the Schwann cell? To produce the myelin sheath. What's the job of the myelin sheath? To cover parts of the axon. As you can see here, it covers parts of the axon. Parts of the axon. The spaces, these spaces right here, in between these areas, these spaces right there, this one, it's going to be called the node of Ranvier. Okay, very important. So let's keep scrolling down, and we are going to see that this nerve goes down and has the axon terminal, which is the end of the axon. Okay, so then we said, what is the name of the cell that you find, for example, in your brain? The neuron. And what extensions it has? Dendrites and axon. And the axon is covered by the myelin sheath, which is produced by the Schwann cell. So if we keep scrolling down, we have dendrites. I already talked about axon hillock, the axon. Okay. This is just different type of classifications of neurons. If it has multiple extensions, as you can see here, multiple extensions, it's called multipolar. That's that's just the definition. Scroll down. Bipolar. How many extensions? 2. One right here, another one right here. Which one is this one? If it has only one extension, well, it's gonna be called unipolar. If you scroll down, you're gonna see this one. This one shows only dendrites, no axons. So therefore, this is gonna be called anaxonic. Okay. So let's keep scrolling down, and we're gonna see axons, axonal transport. If the cell needs to transfer things, for example, nutrients from the body to the end of the axon, that is anterograde. And if it needs to transport things from the end of the axon to the body, it's retrograde. Okay, and that's what you have right here, anterograde and retrograde. Okay. Okay, so let's continue. And if we scroll down, you see in there that I told you you have anterograde and retrograde. That's all you need to know. There's other kinds such as fast anterograde, slow anterograde. You don't need to know that. So we keep scrolling down, and that's about it for this part. Okay, the next topic is supportive cells. We said that the cells that you find in your brain are going to be the neurons. Well, in addition to those cells, there are other cells that the main job that they have is just to support the job of the neuron. They do everything else that needs to be done. For example, if there is an infection in your brain, the neuron doesn't fight the infection. Okay? Other cells will do that. Because the neuron, the only thing it does, it processes all the information that is going on through your body 24/7. So these other cells that you find in your brain, for example, they are going to help you, for example, fight infections, are going to be called the neuroglia, as you can see in there. So you keep scrolling down. You have a very nice table. I always like this table. I would strongly recommend you to learn this table if you want to skip the next, pages where you have all this information. So, for example, take a look at the very first one. You have oligodendrocytes. And that one forms myelin sheath. Okay, if you look at the one that says neuroglia of PNS, which is peripheral nervous system, you're going to see in there Schwann cell. I already mentioned what the Schwann cell does, which is also the formation of myelin. So basically, you have two cells that produce myelin. One of them is in the central nervous system, oligodendrocytes. They produce myelin sheath in the central nervous system, but in the peripheral nervous system, you have the Schwann cell that is going to have that job. So make sure you learn this table, everything, so you can actually skip some of this information that you have right here. As you can see in there, you have the neurons and how these other cells are around these neurons in order to give them support. That's the neuroglia. So make sure, again, to learn these different types of cells. Not only the Schwann cell and the oligodendrocyte, but all the other cells that you have in there as well. So then what other cells we have? We already mentioned oligodendrocytes. We have ependymal cells. They produce the cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, microglia, they fight infections, for example. Astrocytes, they are going to produce the important functions, such as the ones that you have right here. One of them is the blood-brain barrier. Very important in the function of the nervous system. You can see here all the different functions. Again, you can skip all this part if you learn the function directly that you have in that little table. So we said some of the functions of these cells is to produce myelin. Myelin is very important for the speed at which the information is going to be transferred from your body into your brain and from your brain into your body. So the myelin wraps around the axon, as you can see here. This provides you two types of cells. New myelinated and unmyelinated neurons. The unmyelinated is a misnomer because they're actually myelinated. You're going to see that right now. So this one is myelinated, where you see the one Schwann cell in here, right? This is a Schwann cell, how it wraps around the nerve. Okay, that's myelinated. But if you scroll down right here, so it's one unique per nerve. This one right here is considered unmyelinated. Why? Because in here you see a whole bunch of nerves, but you see there's only one myelin that is covering all of them. That's why this is called unmyelinated. Okay? The main difference, one of them is faster than the other when it transfers the information to your brain. That's why you have in here the topic, conduction speed of nerve fibers. Which one is faster? The myelinated. Which one is slower? Unmyelinated fibers. Okay? We're going to see that later on. Regeneration of nerve fibers. Okay, nerves don't regenerate. Otherwise, people who are not able to walk anymore after they have an accident, they sever or they cut their spinal cord, they would walk again, but they don't. The nerve fibers, they regenerate by just a tiny bit, which is not enough in order to repair or regain the main functionality on some areas where the movement of the muscles has been lost. And that's about it.